Am I the only one who's noticed that every cartoon looks like a daycare with superpowers? I mean, where did all the adults go? No, seriously, I'm not even joking. Somewhere between the golden age of animation and the TikTok era, television collectively decided that grown ups no longer exist. They just vanished, poof, gone. And apparently, nobody in this world cares that the streets are being patrolled by 6-year olds wearing pajamas. Welcome to the age of kid-led universes, where almost every animated city is apparently under the internal custody of unsupervised minors. And today we're going to talk about it. Let's start with the most obvious suspect, PJ Masks. Because I'm sorry, if you've ever watched this show, you've probably asked the same question. Where are their parents? This is a show about three literal first graders who leave their homes at midnight to fight crime. They sneak out of their bedrooms and go fight other children with gadgets and powers that would make Batman nervous. And apparently, not a single adult on the planet notices three neon colored toddlers doing donuts on rooftops. Where is Child Protective Services? Where are the neighbors? Where is that one nosy aunt who would have called everyone by 2 a.m.? Now, don't get me wrong, PJ Masks is fun, it's bright, it's catchy, but the logic absolutely gone because according to the show, adults just don't exist after sunset. They clock out. The night belonged to the children and apparently the villains too, because every evil mastermind in this show is also, wait for it, a kid. Romeo, a child. Luna Girl, a child. Night Ninja, probably most definitely a child. So basically, the entire city is being run by middle schoolers having a light up sneaker brawl. But here's the thing. PJ Masks isn't some one-half fever dream. It is a symptom of a larger trend. Somewhere in the last decade, animation decided that adults are either boring, annoying, or simply unnecessary. Or worse, they're just in the way. So the solution? Delete them. Remove the parents, remove the teachers, remove every responsible human, and suddenly your plot is faster, cleaner, and relatable. Why bother explaining rules when there's nobody left to enforce them? It's genius from a writing perspective, but it's also kind of insane when you think about it. Because if you look at modern cartoons, they've collectively created an alternate universe where kids rule everything, and adults are either absent, clueless, or comic relief. Let's tour this strange world together, shall we? In the amazing world of Gumball, we get glimpses of adults, but they might as well be oversized children. Nicole Watson is the only functioning parent in the house, and even she is on the verge of a mental breakdown. Richard, the dad, is literally a pink balloon who doesn't have a job and eats sugar like a toddler. So, yes, technically the adults are there, but emotionally, the house is run by an 11-year-old cat and his goldfish brother. Move over authority because the kids have it handled. And then there's Adventure Time, a world where humans are extinct. Now, our main character, Finn, is the last one. He's a child, and somehow also the designated savior of a post apocalyptic candy civilization. And the only adult around? A vampire queen, a talking dog, and a 1,000-year-old piece of bubblegum. Translation: no responsible human supervision anywhere. Even shows like Fairly Odd Parents build their entire premise on adult incompetence. Timmy's parents are oblivious. His teacher is paranoid. His babysitter is evil. Basically, every grown up in Dimsdale is allergic to logic. It's like the cartoon universe runs on this one rule. If you're over 18, your IQ drops by half and your awareness disappears completely. There was a time when adults were actually part of the story. Think about Dexter's Laboratory. His parents were hilarious, relatable, and even essential to the plot. Or the Powerpuff Girls, the professor wasn't just a guardian, he was a character. Even Rugrats, a show literally about babies, still had parents who had jobs, friends, and actual conversations. And now adults are background noise. They exist off screen, their voice are muffled like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, wah, wah. They're just implied obstacles the audience never meets. And that's the weird thing. Kids' cartoon used to need adults to give contrast. You saw how kids navigated authority, family, and rules. Now it's just pure child anarchy, and we call that empowerment. But let's be honest here. The modern kid protagonist is a fully functional adult trapped in a child's body. They drive, they build, they lead armies, they fight crime, and they save worlds. In Teen Titans Go, Robin's technically the team leader, but nobody on that show looks, acts, or even reports to a single adult. They live in a high-tech tower, own vehicles, and apparently pay rent. In Steven's universe, Steven has cosmic powers, emotional intelligence beyond his age, and spends most of the series fixing the mistakes of, wait for it, other adults. And Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beast. It's a literal apocalypse being survived entirely by teenagers. It is as if cartoons decided that adults are too flawed to save the world, so the children must inherit the earth early, and the audience eats it up. Because who doesn't love watching a kid do everything better than the people who raised them? But here's where the magic spell starts to make sense. If you're wondering why every modern animated show looks like a child-only utopia, it is not an accident. It is a marketing strategy. Kids don't want to see grown-ups telling them what to do. They want freedom, fantasy, and self-importance. So studios realize something powerful. If you remove adults, you remove friction. No bedtime, no rules, no responsibilities. Every episode becomes a pure imagination with zero accountability. And that, my dear, sells toys, merch, and views like crazy because let's face it, it is easier to sell a 6-year-old a cape when the show convinces them they don't need adults to be heroes. Ironically, what looks like a cute fantasy is actually a quiet rebellion. Kids aren't just the heroes now, they're the only heroes. Adults aren't just irrelevant, they're liabilities. It is the ultimate revenge of the child imagination. A world where adults' opinions, warnings, and logic are background noise, while the kids save reality with friendship and glitter bombs. But peel it back, and it's also a little dystopian because if every cartoon teaches that adults are clueless and children must fix everything, what happens when those same kids grow up and realize the world doesn't actually hand you jetpacks and animal psychics at 13? You know what else disappears when adults vanish from storytelling? Emotional depth. Remember when Hey Arnold could balance playground hijinks with heartbreak and social issues? Or when Avatar The Last Airbender showed actual mentorship between Aang and Iroh, or Katara and her father? Those relationships mattered because they showed the bridge between youth and wisdom. But in this modern adultless world, there is no bridge at all. Kids are born knowing everything, feeling everything, fixing everything alone, which might sound empowering until you realize it also isolates them completely. There's no safety net, no guidance, no generational connection. It is an endless independence with zero support. Now, to be fair, not every show deleted adults entirely. Some just neutered them. In SpongeBob SquarePants, technically everyone's an adult, but they all act like preschoolers on caffeine. In Craig of the Creek, the adults exist, but they're barely relevant. And Bluey, arguably one of the few modern exceptions, actually bring adults back into the spotlight. Bandits and Chili aren't just props. They're real parents with emotions, patience, exhaustion, and humor. So maybe the problem isn't that adults are boring. Maybe we just stopped writing them as human. Removing adults apparently simplifies everything, but it also limits everything. You lose nuance, you lose messy. When the world only belongs to children, it stops being a story about becoming. It becomes a story about being stuck. Every character stays young forever. Every episode resets and no one ever truly changes. I mean, Kim Possible had a mom who was a brain surgeon and a dad who was a rocket scientist, and yet Kim still had curfews. That balance made her heroism feel real. Even Danny Phantom, a literal ghost teenager, had parents who were obsessed with ghosts, which added both comedy and danger. You can't remove those dynamics without hollowing the world. We live in a world where kids grow up online faster than ever. They're exposed to everything, taught to be aware and responsible, but still treated like children by the world around them. So animation just gave up on the illusion. It skipped the middleman entirely. When you remove adults from stories, every story becomes eternal recess. No stakes, no mentorship, no progression. And the irony here is the best kids shows were never afraid of showing grown-ups being human. They made mistakes. They got scared. They changed. That's what gave young characters something to push against and something to reach for. So maybe the real question isn't Where are all the adults? Maybe it's when did we decide kids don't need them?